Hey everyone, video time. And as you saw in the title, we're going to be looking at fluids. It's one of the questions that get asked the most. When do I change my fluids? How often should I look? When and where and how? Truth be told, this video is not going to give you all the answers. I'm going to cover all the major fluids, but every car is different, right? And every fluid's different. Coolant, there's like 5, 6, 7 different types of coolants out there, both from manufacturer and aftermarket, and they all have their own recommendations and regulations. So first and foremost, always check your manual, check with the dealership, check online, everything like that to find out what the intervals are if you're not sure. But this video is really going to cover, I guess you could say, the basics. Like it gives you what the general information is, what you'll see for most manufacturers or most cars, things like that. So keep that in mind when you're watching it. It is just a guideline video, but it hopefully will shine some light for you and give you some ideas on what to think about. Let's get right to it, shall we? Let's start off with kind of the most major one, the one that you have to do the most frequent, aside from, topping up your washer fluid and filling up your gas, right? And that's your engine oil right over there. You'll see it's often marked with something that looks like a little can or pot that has maybe a little bit of, sometimes they'll have like a little mark coming out of it or a little drip going down, things like that. So generally speaking, it's very well accepted to go 6 months, 5,000 miles, 9,000 kilometers. Next up is transmission fluid. This here is something that's actually often overlooked or forgotten on a car, along with some of the other fluids. It's often marked with something like a red dot, or you'll see it maybe a little gear. It looks like a little gear or something like that on there. Well, for standard step transmission, it's generally accepted that you can do it every 2 years, 30,000 miles. That's 50,000 kilometers. CVTs, that's been far harder to pin down. Again, some of the manufacturers, I tried looking at a variety of manufacturers to get a feel for them, and some of them say life of the transmission. I don't like that term because that just tells me that it'll go until the transmission blows. How long does the transmission last? CVTs are relatively new, so we don't know what their life expectancy is. So generally, just based on everything I've read, across even cars that say life of transmission, 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers seems to be the go-to number. Let's talk about power steering next. Now this is the power steering here, and you can see it's clearly labeled power steering. However, some cars may have a picture that looks like maybe a steering wheel or anything like that. Now, that said, when should you change it? Generally speaking, 65,000 miles or 105,000 kilometers seems to be the good rounded number to be flushing out your transmission. Next up is brake fluid. Brake fluid is, most times I'll see it as actually says it'll be labeled brake fluid. Sometimes it'll say .3, .4, something like that on there, and it'll be in a something like this, normally very close to the driver's side of the car. So, when should you change it? Generally speaking, 30,000 miles, 49,000 kilometers is the good number. Next up, you see kind of hitting back there is your differential. So when should you do your differential fluid? And also adding on to that, your transfer case as well, if you happen to have a transfer case. Well, that's 45,000 miles or 72,000 kilometers is the general number there to work with. Last, we're going to talk about coolant. And for example, on this car here, you have the coolant reservoir, which is over here, and then the rad is right here. And you have the standard green glycol coolant, and it should be flushed every 30,000 miles or 48,000 kilometers. Now, long life coolants, there's a little bit more variety in those numbers because different manufacturers have different things. So if you have something other than the standard green, you could be looking anywhere from 100,000 miles, 160,000 kilometers, to 150,000 miles, which is 240,000 kilometers. So for deck schools specifically, being dealing with GM cars for a number of years, I do recommend doing much earlier, 75,000 kilometers, 75,000 miles, 120,000 kilometers. All right, so that's it. Did you find this video helpful? I hope you did. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure when you're commenting, you leave if you have any questions, anything you want to add on, absolutely leave it to. I try and answer whenever I can, as best as I can. If you do dislike, also comment, let me know. If there's something you didn't like about the video, something else you want to improve on, let me know. If I can make the content constantly better, it's only going to help you, it's only going to help me. So make sure you keep that in mind. But other than that, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video.